laptop, you'll need a HDMI cable for the thing in the main.
It is.
Great. Excellent.
How far would that be from the projector to go anywhere, can it?
The projector's in the ceiling. That's already there.
Okay.
And the thing you plug into is by the hatch where the teaser done.
Okay.
So it's not far.
Right.
Okay. That's Knoll Parish. Royal Mail response. Yeah. Which is particularly unhelpful.
Got it here.
Excellent. So as you know, we've been told by Royal Mail we were having challenged them originally. We were told that we could have a post box out the front of the shop, but we couldn't have it on our land. It had to be on the highway, so it was going to go more or less in front of where the bench used to be in the front. They sent out the area engineer, who then said that was going to be too close and would obstruct the flashing lights for the school sign. Quite how high they think it's going to be, I don't understand, but anyway. So they said, having looked at that, we now couldn't have one. We didn't need one because there were two in the village anyway, at Fox and Goose and at the telephone exchange, and that covered enough for the residents. We challenged that. We got a letter back from them saying you can't have it. And the only way we could challenge that was to write a letter and send it through the post. They wouldn't give us any other contacts. We have now had a reply to our request, which was, I think, fairly pleasant to them, to ask them to reconsider. If I can borrow those from you. So we have two letters. That was the first one we got, and they also took a bit of a while on the signature. That's the second one we got.
It says to Bob, to my home address.
I read them from my address, but they sent it to me at Owen's address. The first paragraph and the last paragraph are the same. And they changed a couple of words in the interim bit, which basically just says no. So what I was going to ask was, we've to date, I think we've tried to do all of this very nicely, working with the Royal Mail. We haven't made a big fuss of it anywhere. I think it may be time that we now start going public and potentially involving others, whether we ask the MP to get involved.
So, one of the suggestions was, instead of having a new one, could we move the one outside the telephone exchange?
That's what I was going to
So
say.
it's moving it down, I don't know, a few hundred metres. So there's nothing at the telephone exchange. We're up near the pub.
Yeah.
The next one up is just on Burton Road, so that's fine. So that there's still a decent enough gap between them, and even if they do put it at the shop, we can. It's probably an equal distance if we put it at the shop between the one up on Burton Road and the one at the Fox and Goose. So it's slap bang in the middle, and that would be a case of moving it, not installing a new one. So that gets around we don't need another because.
Yeah.
Isn't the shop trying to have the post office inside it? That was the whole point.
Yeah, there's problems with the, I think you have to have a full-time employee in there because they need to be a paid employee because the post office no longer pays for a postmaster.
Right.
But that's how I understand it. I don't know the full details.
But even if they were operating a post office in there, that still wouldn't.
It would be shut.
It wouldn't give them a box that you could post letters in when the shop's shut. Well, we can certainly, if you're happy, that then first stage we'll go back to them and see if they will move the one.
What have they said about obviously you've pointed out that the one across the Fox and Goose is totally lethal, and if you try to I had a letter kicking around in my car for about a week because didn't pass anywhere, but if you pull up there you can't actually use it because it's right on bed. What do they say about that?
All they are interested in is the fact that it is within half a mile of. So basically, apparently, there's a standard. I'm trying to think of the phrase. So it says here, as mentioned on my letter of the 3rd of March, the post box was removed at the request of the landowner. Following removal of the post box, a full review will take place of the area. Our regulator Ofcom requires Royal Mail to ensure that 98% of all households across the UK should be within half a mile of the post box. I am advised that there is a post box on Brent Street, which is 400 metres away from the location of the community store. Now, we've explained to him that it's not just about that, it's about the residents in Manor Ride and whatever who have got further to go. As mentioned previously, having taken into account all relevant factors, including the number of post boxes in the area within half a mile and the balance of economy against service provision, it has been decided that the post box will not be replaced. And then the repeat of the last sentence that he said last time, I'm sorry to send you what I know will be disappointing reply. As always, if I can be of any further assistance, please do not hesitate to
Well,
contact me.
let's take him up on that.
Yeah.
For
Let's
an assistance,
just-
I think we should start probably playing hardball with them a bit and saying, right, so you're admitting that you will take all liability for any accidents, people crossing the A38 to use that post
We
box.
did say in the last letter I sent him that it was dangerous and we would hold them responsible if there was an issue.
And it has got VR on it, which means that when that post box was put in, there may not have been so many cars,
Exactly.
or even that main road.
Brand new one down Boulder.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit daft as well, because I bet the shop,
It
does the
is.
shop sell books of stamps?
Yes.
So you buy a book of stamps, you could
You get
stamp
your
your
card.
envelope there and then whack
So
it
they
in the post.
basically ignored the safety
Bonkers.
issues,
Yes.
that maybe we could pick up on that and say, I see you've ignored the safety issue. So when an elderly person gets knocked over on the A38, which is increasing,
So maybe
ask for their comments on that. Say, could you please not send back this standard letter?
Get
I was
Mr.
gonna-
Bates
Oh,
in
we'll
there.
try that.
Yes.
We'll try that, but they probably won't want to move that either.
Charlie.
I was going to say, maybe instead of being as harsh as I know we want to be, say, given the safety issues and you've acknowledged that we would be duplicating it, could we compromise and move it? So we're showing that we're doing some movement, and we're just asking them to do a little bit of
I mean,
movement.
when the building project was going on, we basically said to them at the time, why don't we do it at the same time as the building?
Yeah.
And we could even get the thing installed for you.
Yeah.
And they basically said no to that because it has to be their approved installer who does it wherever they want to put it. So they have been thoroughly unhelpful all the way through with this.
Post office?
But
Well,
Colin,
try the MP, and if not, I would escalate it even further, because given the public perception of the post office these days, they'll be further embarrassed.
Malcolm,
Is the post box at Telephone Exchange freestanding or an integral part?
no, it's on a
Post.
post. So
So
it
that would be suitable.
it would be the same.
Yeah.
type
Perfect
we
to
would
be
have had.
moved.
It's next
So-
to the dog improvement.
Yes.
They don't move the wrong way.
So maybe we need a project and a little mini digger, and we'll move it ourselves.
Okay, so phase one, we're going to go back. Basically, suggesting the moving of the one
Because
that
of the
is
safety issues
yeah,
and
this is
acknowledging.
much more accessible.
Health and safety.
Okay.
Okay,
Surely
so
must know the number of posts being picked up from the box by the talks and use. So if it's not being used, then surely.
It can't be.
But you have to wonder though, is the post office deliberately trying to reduce the
Yeah.
amount of people
Yeah.
using
I
less
think
than
they are trying to save it out, aren't they?
Okay,
Do we know the post office minister? Because there is a minister.
yeah, we can certainly find that out.
Because that would be a good one to start with, probably. I don't know.
We needed more Bob to have any posts, he sent it to Owen.
We get 2 deliveries a week in North Carolina.
Okay, well, we'll follow
So
that
you've
up and
got
we'll
that.
keep members informed as to what response we get.
Right.
But again, you see, even with this one, there is no other way of replying to him other than by snail mail. That's the website.
Oh, is it?
And when you go to the website and the contact us, it gives you the post address to send stuff by post. Yeah.
What is their address, out of interest?
Farrington Road.
Yeah, 185 Farringdon Road, London.
Oh, London, okay.
I'm
That's
happy
it,
to
it's
do it.
local. It's local, we could do a John Harper.
And this
It's their area.
is from their senior public affairs manager, Mr. Hogg. So,
Right.
okay.
What's the date of that, 1st of April?
No, that one, we've only just received it. I replied back in,
No, it's it. 19 like that.
I replied to them on the 10th by post. They sent this back to us on the 19th. But anyway, okay, we'll continue to do that one. Next one is consider a memorial bench in respect of Brian Freestone. Colin, I think you wanted to mention.
Yes, Brian Freestone's family have asked whether the parish council would grant permission for them to purchase a bench with an appropriate sign in memory of Brian, who died, I'm not quite sure, probably 6 months ago.
Last year.
Yeah, who died. He's a long-serving member of the parish council, former chairman as well, did an awful lot of work, was well respected in the village as well. I think it would be really nice if you were to grant that permission. I have said to them that if you're going to buy a bench, it would be best to buy a bench that requires no maintenance, which is very much like the picnic benches that we have got from the company called Glaston. So I put them in touch with them, and I said if all goes well, that's what we would expect you to buy, because it requires no maintenance and it suits the purpose. So I'd like to be able to go back to them, if I may,
Where
with
would
some
it be sited?
well, we can decide that at the time, but there is a very old bench in the far corner, which has
So this
always
would be in the,
been in need
in the
of
parlour,
on the
parlour,
yeah,
right.
yeah, which may well be suitable. But
Are members happy then we that'll be okay?
Yeah.
Just one question on Colin, in terms of buying it, would it be worth them
yes,
asking money to us buying it, because then at least we can get
we get
VAT
discount
back and stuff.
VAT,
So,
yeah, because we get 5%. We have done in the
Yeah.
past as well.
but in principle, members are happy that
Yeah.
we go ahead with that.
I will suggest that.
Okay.
It's the process. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Can I mention also something to do with benches? While we're on benches, we've also had an estimate for. You'll remember we've got the bench that was the Ronald Frost bench, which is currently on the patio, which used to be at the front of the toilet block, and we have a donated bench that was in memory of a parishioner, which we talked about locating outside the front of the new shop. We've had again, just to get an estimate as to what the cost would be of installation, because what was there before was the old bench was sat on slabs so that it doesn't end up getting muddy and rotty. So we had an estimate at the moment to supply all necessary materials and labour to carry out the following work on the grass area in front of the village shop: fence off the working area, excavate ground to achieve sufficient subbase for a new bench plinth and remove spoil, lay scalping subbase stone and compact, lay 6 60 by 60 textured concrete slabs per bench, providing 1.8 metres by 1.2 metres plinth, point the new slabs with grouting compound, set up bench on each plinth and secure to plinth using threaded bar and chemical resin into base. For the two benches, that would be a total of £688.
But it was only 130 to do the bicycle.
And they're going on all the grass that we've got there.
Yes.
No, that'll be that.
There won't be much grass left there, will there?
No. Well, I think
Well,
I think the work is going to.
I think that's extortionate.
Well, hang on, you've got quite a lot of work there. It's going to take at least probably 2 days to do all that.
Does it need all that work?
Well, remember, we could put the benches with nothing underneath them. The only problem is, in terms of maintenance, that will be more difficult for strimming ground, and then they'll get where people stand and put their feet, or sit and put their feet, it's turned into a mud bath.
Any space for these dog signs that we've got. How much grass can we use now?
Yeah.
Can we cancel the dog sign for us 2 days?
They've got a
I mean,
few fixed as well.
when
haven't they?
cyclists stop there, they're going to go on, put their backs on the grass, they're going to go on the benches.
I mean, in effect, we had.
Yeah.
I mean, on the space that was there before, we had obviously a bench with base previously.
The space a lot smaller.
We haven't made it massively small, when you think that the path used to go through. But it's up to, we've got the two. I don't know whether we're now saying we don't want the two benches, because previously we said yes, it was just a question of.
It's quite nice,
I
right?
would like to see a bench there.
Yes, yeah.
I think it'd be quite nice to have one on each patch of grass, which would be
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And then it does encourage people to.
I'm
It's
quite
a
happy.
space for people to use.
You're putting in 12 slabs, sub-base, cement, grouting, fixings as well, and all the labour.
Just sounds like so much more than, doesn't it? So that I don't know what these things
I'm
are.
happy with it, but I think it will finish it off and it'll designate those areas.
Okay.
We'll probably have to just reseed it afterwards, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
But then can we use the grass in front of the bench? We'll have the fencing up again. We're gonna.
No, you'll only put a bit round the edge where he cuts in, you put a bit of seed and soil there, won't you, David?
I suspect because they'll be pounding around over it backwards and forwards, it sounds like to do all that, don't you think, David, to do all that, they're probably,
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
To a point.
well, it's going to be done.
Yeah.
It's going to be done sometime in the next month or so, isn't it?
It's going to be done, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose that this work is carried out because I think it'll make the people can sit on the bench outside the shop and have a chat if they want to, or cyclists can stop. It's ideal.
Yeah.
It encourages people to spend time there, and I think it will be nice if it's done the way you say it's going to be done.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? Okay, that's clearly carried.
They can sit there and flag their